So I'm Serge Tinguish. I'm a computer scientist, and I am the head of research at the United Nations University Institute in Macau. So thank you for giving me this opportunity to share research initiative that we are developing at the United Nations University. And I think this research will frame the discussions that we have on AI and relationship with digital identity. At UNU, we are very interested to understand the interrelationship between digital technologies, including AI and sustainable development. And we know that the data divide is a very important issue that leads to data invisibility of marginalized communities. AI system might take decision for people who are not represented at all. So one alternative is to use synthetic data. So data that are created by computer algorithms that reproduce the statistical distribution of real world data. Maybe you are not aware of that, but a recent study of Garden Group predicts that 60% of the data used to train machine learning algorithm in 2024 is actually synthetic data. So this was only 1% in 2021. So we are already living in this world where most of the data used to train AI pipelines is synthetic. So this will have a huge impact on digital identities. Synthetic data can solve some of the issues related to privacy protections, as synthetic data is not representing actual people and does not contain personally identifiable information. Synthetic data might also play an important role to de-risk AI, reduce, for example, bias that exists in data sets, like gender, racial bias. But there are still risks if things are not done correctly. So there's a need to provide recommendations for policymakers for this new reality. And at the beginning of 2024, we worked with the rector of UNU, Professor Chilizi Marwala, a policy brief on the use of synthetic data, where we tried to identify the benefits of synthetic data in the context of the achievements of the sustainable goals in 2030, but also we try to identify the potential threats that might come, like the one of data pollution. I don't have time to discuss more about that today, but if you want to know more, you can download this policy recommendation on the website with the QR code provided on this slide. I want to move now on the second research initiative that we have been developing more recently. And at UNU, we are very interested now how to involve more people in decision-making, as decision-making processes are more and more automated and more driven by AI tools at the end. So most of the time, collective decision-makings lack the perspective of the voiceless. So not only the marginalized population, that are not correctly represented in AI system, but also stakeholders like the natures or the future generation. As these stakeholders are not visible, this might impact long-term consequences of decisions. How to give to these unheard stakeholders a digital identity, a digital voice. We come up with other partners with this idea of AI voice. So AI voice is the idea that AI system might amplify the voice of the typically unheard stakeholders. So the idea is to balance the voice of domain expert that normally we use when we are building decision when we do decision making with the voice decisions of stakeholders, people that will be impacted by decision making process. The first introduction of this idea of AI voice was done recently by the Professor Angela Aristitou from Stanford University in a publication called AI Speak on Behalf of Future Humans that you can download also with this QR code. And recently we organized with the UNFCCC a first workshop on AI voice to apply this in the context of climate change during the Bonn AI and Climate expert meeting organized by our colleagues from the UNU Institute for Environment and Human Security. So we invite people with different perspectives, AI, social science, social simulation, participatory approaches, and we ask a panel of African researchers to share their views and feedback on this idea. And if we want to develop further this idea, we would have to understand the ethical consequences of representing marginalized population with the AI system, how to develop responsible AI voices. This was already mentioned by Vincent and Professor Yeli. The question of AI voice is also strongly related to the new trend that we are seeing right now, about agentic AI systems. So AI systems that became more and more autonomous and that can represent individuals and can make decisions on their behalf. So we have to work to make space to empower the minorities, the marginalized population, and the underrepresented viewpoints, not to represent the voice or to speak on behalf of these people, but rather to support better representation, counter narratives, create awareness of data gaps, and provide opportunities to deep and meaningful contributions. And at the end, it's also very important to keep the human in the loop in such systems. So if you want to know more about this idea of AI voice, please have a look to our website where we will publish a report on the workshop that we have conducted recently. Thank you very much for listening.